Well, being back here in the Shaftesbury Theatre brings back so many memories. I played my first West End show in this theatre. It was Hair. There were some hairy moments in it too. I remember one night I was in a bar not far from here with some friends who were in the company, and the stage manager rushed in and announced that Jeannie and her two understudies were off. So I was on. I said to him, "But you can't do that to me. I'm not the understudy for that character. I don't know it." "No, come on, you're on." I thought, typical, they throw me on. Anyway, I remember rushing back and literally trying to learn the lines in the wings and hoping I'd remember them from there to the centre of the stage. But worse than that was the first entrance, which was under the stage. I had to come up through a trap door. My heart was pounding away like crazy. And up I popped through this trap door, and the song I had to sing was Air. And it went to, "Welcome, sulfur dioxide, hello, carbon monoxide, the air is everywhere." Oh, it was just terrifying, because the whole song was all those kind of words, monoxide, oh, terrifying. Somehow or other I got through it. I don't know how I did, but I did. But I was so relieved when Jeannie came back. I think that's when I realised the true meaning of the saying, "The show must." I was born and brought up in High Barnet in Hertfordshire, the youngest of two daughters, and we lived in a flat over a greengrocer's on the high street. And my sister Marion was always the more academic of the two. I just wanted to be a tennis player. I quite liked school, particularly sport and art, all the creative things. I was never too crazy about having to get on with the 3 R's. I think my parents realised I was interested in performing basically because I was always, you know, impersonating somebody at home. One of the ones I used to do that they all used to hoot with laughter at was Max Wall. And I must have been very young, because I remember searching in my mother's drawers and found her black cardigan, and you know, shoveling my legs into the arms of her black cardigan and going downstairs and doing that silly Max Wall walk, and they all thought that was tremendous. I think they realised that I was becoming more and more interested in acting, and I went to Ada Foster Drama School for a student's course there, and we used to sing and dance and do drama in the afternoon. And my parents always supported me throughout that entire time. In fact, whenever I've needed them, they've always been there. Whilst I was at Ada Foster, I was sent for my very first audition, and I forgot the words or something. I dried. And so my agent rang me and said, "I know you can get this part, you must go back. And to do that, you must have another name." I said, "Well, you're mad, they've seen me, they'll know they've seen me. No, give me another name." So my real name is Bickerstaff. Got it? And so I was desperately trying to think of another name, and I couldn't. So I started to look through the family phone book, and hoping that something, a name, would jump up at me. Of course it didn't. And I suddenly realised what I was doing, sort of flicking the pages across. And I suddenly thought, oh, Elaine Paige. And I said it a few times to myself, and it seemed to sort of go together. So that's how I came by the name Elaine Paige. That was for the Royal of the Grease Paint. But in fact, looking back, auditions have always been rather comic. There was another one I remember for the film of Oliver. And again, I was still at Ada Foster and always looking younger than my years. I was sent as a child, for a child's part. And I noticed in the stage, around the same time, that they were advertising for singers, real adult people, you know. So I thought, well, perhaps I could go for that as well, using my real name. And which I did, and I piled my hair up and put the highest heels I got on, and the joke was that I actually got both parts. it was whilst I was in Hair that I heard a record of Jesus Christ Superstar. And in fact, that was my first introduction to the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Ryan.
We don't think.
So fresh and new. Again, innovative theatre. An opera has recitative. This was just music all the way, and it was wonderful. And I relished every night of the 9 months that I spent there. But I remember always wishing that that I could sing. My own musical taste is somewhat varied, I'd say. I have quite a large record collection, and of course I listen to it according to my mood, as I'm sure most people do. When it rains, I always play Handel. Gosh, it goes from, I don't know, Handel, Mozart, my Puccini, to Noel Coward, Cole Porter, Gershwin, on to Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Billy Joel, Streisand, Judy Garland. I mean, it really does go across the board. And I think in a way it's helped me with flexibility in performing because of listening to such a wide selection of music, as indeed it did when I came to having to sing in Greece, which of course is the 50s style. And it's all that, oh my darling, it's all that oh stuff. And Barry Booth, our MD, helped me tremendously to achieve this strange sound. Of course, it was a new technique. One of the biggest steps forward for me was in the musical Billy. I played Rita, who was this very earthy, raucous kind of girl, and it was the first part that I actually created. I remember suggesting during rehearsal that because of the character, the type of person she was, that she should actually sort of bellow rather when she sang, and suggested that perhaps we should not be mic'd as everybody else was. I thought it would work rather well if she literally bellowed all over the place. So we tried it. It did work, and that was the first time really that I learnt to A rather extraordinary thing happened to me one evening when I was driving home in the car. It must have been around midnight sometime, because the DJ happened to mention that, and the song that he was playing, he said he would play the whole thing after midnight. And it was a wonderful tune. I dashed out of the car and hurried into the house to try and tape the song. And this little chap appeared on the doorstep. I'd never seen him before, and I'd been living in the house for about 2 years. He'd never seen you before, had I? And I dashed into the house and he followed me in. I set up the tape, taped the song, and after midnight when he played it all again, he said that of course was wonderful tune, Memory, from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats. So I thought, extraordinary, great song. And the next morning, the cat stayed the night. The next morning, the phone rang, and it was Cameron Mackintosh, the producer of the show, and he rang and said, would I consider taking over from Judi Dench, who had seriously injured herself and wouldn't be able to go on for the opening night. Would I consider taking over her role? So I said, well, what does it involve? And he said, well, actually, it's not an enormous part or anything. It's a rather nice part, and you have a wonderful song to sing. And I said, what's it called? And he said, it's called Memory. So I thought, I think I might do this. And the strange thing was that he appeared that night, you know, on the doorstep, having never seen him before. And the other odd thing that I thought was so strange was, after dilly-dallying with lyrics during the short 4-day rehearsal period, when we settled on a lyric, the first word in the lyric was midnight. As John Lennon says, life's what's happening to you while you're busy making